It's me, Joe the Box, the America First warehouse, most patriotic venue in all the land. I've been doing a little traveling lately. I found myself down in Dallas, Texas. Are you familiar with Dallas, Texas? Very hot, dry, strong wind. I think I got hit by a tumbleweed when I was down there. I wasn't sure. But I love Texas because I feel Texas is probably the freest state in all the nation. Well, I have two incredible friends of mine here at the warehouse. First, I have Chris Burgard, who wrote movies and documentaries. He's going to straighten me out. You can straighten me out anytime you want, Chris. I'm all right with that. Capital Punishment was one of the first documents that came out. It covered the January 6th insurrection and the big lie that was out there right from the beginning. I met Chris when he came, promoted his second movie, was The War on Truth. We showed it here at the warehouse. He's back today, July 9th, 2026, the year of the Lord, to share with us some very difficult truths. Some truths that you are really not aware of because we live our lives under the guidance of God and we look to do righteous things, but beneath the surface is an evil movement that's coming in to your house and your home. And I have a responsibility as the voice in the wilderness to share this information and show this movie tonight. On my left side is a tactical Marine. Hoo-ah. I love the Marines. John Bennett, he has served our country and continues to serve our country, and his story is very interesting. And he's going to educate us on these surroundings that we're not really aware of. I'm going to start with Chris. Chris, how you doing, cowboy?
It's Burgard, Joe. Burgard.
Burgard. Honey, will you help me with that? I'll train on work on that tonight.
Yeah, it's okay. I've worked with special needs hosts before.
Listen, my last name is Vertebra, and I've seen a lot worse. How you doing, Chris?
I'm honored to be here, dude. Every day is Christmas. I can't tell you, y'all watch Joe's show. This guy, for years, he's been the real deal. He doesn't talk about doing stuff. You do it. I'm honored to be back in New York with y'all. And I want to thank you, and I want to thank your brother John for coming down to the premiere that we had down in Dallas. It just meant the world to us. I know General Flynn was happy to see you. It was
General
awesome
Flynn?
when you came down there.
General Flynn?
Seeing New Yorkers in Texas is a good thing.
I was honored to be there, and I was really impressed by coming from the airport to the hotel on the highway with huge 50, 60-foot flags, American flag and Texas flags, and that really made me feel good.
It's pretty cool. So the reason we made the movie, Remember the Alamo, Don't Sharia My Texas, for me, I got involved in this 19 years ago when we were working the border, and Sinaloa cartel was smuggling jihadis in through a very remote area of Hudspeth County, Texas, West Texas. And when my friend's wife had reported them to law enforcement, cartel went to the other side of the border and told her sister they were going to cut her sister's head off if she didn't shut up. And so we staged there with several different law enforcement agencies. And that got me in touch with a fellow that Johnny's working with, another guy named Johnny Guandolo, who was at a task force out of DOD to train America against the Muslim Brotherhood. So now here we are almost 20 years later, and the Islamic movement has made Texas the target to take down Texas. Because if they take down Texas, and they can take down the country, you take down Western civilization. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's the truth. And to be real clear, this is not an anti-Muslim movie that we made. This is an anti-Sharia law movie that we made. Because Sharia law is a set of laws that has come from since 640 AD, hasn't changed, and you have the Constitution. And you can't have both sets of laws in a civilization. So Sharia law is the enemy of the Constitution. And like John did when he joined the Marine Corps, like our politicians did, like our law enforcement does, when you take an oath to defend the United States Constitution, you have to be against Sharia law.
Now, why? I mean, I was really not aware of it as much, although I did see, because I noticed these mosque churches or whatever. I don't think it's a church; they're a mosque. And what I found out through some of my friends, and they're proud Americans, but it seems to be that these mosques are more like an organization building. Is that true?
Yeah, well, and John can speak to this from the military aspect, but it's building lily pads. There's two Arabic words your audience needs to know. One is hijra. Hijra means immigration jihad. It's how Muhammad came in. He went from Mecca, and it's how he took over Medina. It's immigration jihad. You go into a society, you go into a civilization, a country, you overwhelm them, you get to get into key points of power, and you take over. So you don't need to be 95% majority. You can do it with 10% of the population. The other word you need to understand is taqiyya. And taqiyya means to deceive, to lie in the furtherance of jihad. So we have lots of folks in the United States of America that love this country, and they're Muslims, okay? They came to America for the freedom that we have, the freedoms that are enshrined in our founding documents, in the Declaration of Independence, in our Bill of Rights, in the Constitution. All of those rights came to us from God the Creator, the Father of Jesus Christ. So if you come here because you love our freedoms, that's awesome. Come here, be an American, but understand our rights come from God, and there is no room for Sharia. So if you're a Muslim living in America, you need to decide where your allegiance is. Is it with the United States of America and the Constitution, or is it with Sharia law?
It's hard to really comprehend it. I want to go over to John for a little bit, and I asked the question. Chris jumped on it. I know that through some of my friends that were in Afghanistan and Iraq, that these mosques were really ammunition shelters. I'm wondering if that's what happens, because there's so many of them popping up everywhere I turn. Are they arsenals?
You are correct. They're used for other things as well, but you are correct. And the best way to understand it is to understand who Muhammad is and was and who he is to them today. So according to the Quran, it says at least 91 times in the Quran that Muhammad is the most perfect Muslim for all Muslims to emulate for all times. To make Allah happy, they've got to do these things. So if you go back and look and see what did Muhammad use mosques for, and when you do, you see that Muhammad used them for forward operating bases. He used them to store weapons and ammunition in. He used them to plan battles and raids out of, and they also used them to adjudicate Sharia law out of. If he's the perfect Muslim and all Muslims are commanded to emulate him, there's no doubt in my mind today they're using mosques for the same exact things.
What I was kind of curious about is when the religion of Islam began, what I understand, it came from Abraham, his son.
No.
Then please correct me. I don't want to be naive or ignorant.
Well, there is that thing in the Bible that says that the Nation of Islam is when they...
Haggard.
Is Hagar's son, I'm having a senior moment.
With
Ishmael. When he got banned and he left, that he started that. But where, that may be where the tribes came from. But before Muhammad, there was Arabia, and there was a bunch of different tribes there. Some of the tribes were Jewish. There were Christians coming down from Syria, and there were Arabs. There were multi-theists. They believed in many gods. So you have Muhammad, who's orphaned three times by the time he's 8 years old. He has a horrible, tough time growing up. He's taken in by his uncle Abu, who is the leader of Mecca. And at the time, they're worshiping a variance of gods. One of those gods is a lunar god named Allah. Muhammad goes into a cave. He disappears. They can't find him. His wife wonders where they are. He does this on a regular basis, where he meets an entity that he later decides, after talking to his wife, is the angel Gabriel. But at first he thought it was a demon, and he thought he was possessed because this demon would put voices in his head. This demon would give him visions, and it scared the heck out of him. I mean, John, you can elaborate on how that started. But that is where Islam started, was a guy named Muhammad who turns out to be a warlord, who actually marries a 6-year-old girl, getting voices from an entity that he met in a cave that he first thought was a demon, and then his wife talked him into believing was God, and he decided that was Allah. So everything we have comes in the Islamic religion. Remember, Islam isn't just a religion, it's a civilization. But it came from Allah to Muhammad to his followers.
Did you study the Quran, John?
I have specifically Sharia law, which is, according to Islam, is Allah's divine law. And if you understand Muhammad and you understand Sharia, then you can understand the relationship between Muslims and non-Muslims, what they're commanded to do, and the threat that Sharia is to us as a whole. So a lot of people in the United States today, especially, they have no idea what Islam truly is. So, for instance, I think the easiest way to explain it to people is this way. A Muslim is not a race. It could be any race, could be from any country. A Muslim is what someone simply called that submits to Islam. And Islam is a complete way of life. Social, political, military, every aspect of a Muslim's life is governed by Sharia law, which they call Allah's divine law. These are commands. They're commanded to follow all of them without question. And if you understand Sharia, the Sharia is made up of the Quran, and it's made up of the Hadith or the Sunnah, the words and actions of the Prophet Muhammad, makes up the entire Sharia. So if you know Sharia, you don't need to know and understand all of the Quran because it's all in the Sharia, and they are all commanded to follow, and their entire lives are governed by Allah's divine law and Muhammad's perfect example, which at least 91 times in the Quran it says that Muhammad is the most perfect example for all Muslims to emulate and follow for all times. So let me give you this example. Muhammad married a 6-year-old girl by the name of Aisha, consummated the marriage at age 9. That's why 60-something-year-old Muslim men today think it's okay, and most of the Muslim population, if not all, says it's okay for them to do that, marry a little girl and consummate the marriage, rape them at age 9, because Muhammad did it, and he was perfect. Muhammad literally, personally participated, according to the Hadith, the most authoritative Hadith in Islam, which is Bukhari Hadith, literally says that Muhammad personally participated in cutting off, hated, and participated in personally cutting off the heads of 800 to 900 Jews at the Battle of the Trench.
He sounds like a rough guy, I'll tell you that. We're going to be back in a couple of minutes with both these gentlemen, educating on how to protect yourself and learning about our movie. It's me, Joe the Box, the America First Warehouse, most patriotic venue in all the land. I'm blessed. Tonight, we're going to be showing the movie, The Alamo. Don't Sharia my Texas. I feel like don't Sharia my New York. I want to hear from Chris about the movie, what it's about, and what's in it. Chris, what do you got?
So the movie, Remember the Alamo, is it's for the whole. It's based around Texans and how we live and what's happening in Texas. Like I said earlier, Texas has become the target for the global Islamic Jihad. And there's reasons for that. We're the belt buckle, the Bible Belt. We're the energy capital of the nation. And we believe in God and we believe in country. And not to disrespect any other states, but there's just certain things we just won't tolerate. You will never see Muslim rape gangs happening in the small towns of East Texas where I live. It just won't do that. Our buddy Tommy Robinson is in the movie. He talks about his cousin Jeanette, how she was 13 years old and woke up to being raped by a room full of bearded Muslim men, and then no arrests were made because the police didn't want to be considered racist. And then what happened is it got farther on under Sharia law, and you see in the movie, raping a kafir girl. Kafir would be infidel, whether she's Christian, Jewish, she's a non-believer in Islam. It's okay to rape that girl under Sharia law. So when you get enough folks to follow Sharia law in the state, local, and federal government, these laws are no longer carried out. Children aren't protected. That's happening in the UK. You'll see Tommy in the movie. You'll see the entire history of Muhammad. We've taken the entire Surah, which is the biography of Muhammad, and put it down to a 7-minute cartoon. You have to understand who Muhammad is to understand Islam. There's a deception that goes on. People think if you read the Quran, you understand Islam. Islam is not like Christianity. Christianity, you read the Bible, you understand Jesus Christ, you understand who God is. In Islam, you need to read the Quran, which is 14% of the religion, the hadiths, and as John said, particularly by Bukhari, and you need to read the Surah. I would recommend to all your audience, start with the Surah, because if you understand who Muhammad is and what he went through in his life, you get what Islam is. That's portrayed in the movie. What you're going to see in the film is a lot of Muslim imams and folks speaking out what they want and how their intended mission is to take down the United States of America from the inside. They're following the agenda that was laid out by the Muslim Brotherhood years ago. They told us what they were going to do, and nobody in our federal or state government has done anything to stop this. In the movie, you're going to see we ran against Muslim Brotherhood and the Council on American Islamic Relations in my daughter's school district. They tried to put Sharia law in there. Churches came together. Town came together. Went to school board meeting, presented exactly what's happening. 5-0, liberals and conservatives came together, and they kicked CARE out of that school district, because the First Amendment is the clear boundary line of where we are in this country. If we have the First Amendment, then we have constitutional law. If we don't have the First Amendment, and you're going to punish a kid because he wants to make a cartoon that has Muhammad in it, or Jesus, or Abraham, any of those things are illegal under Sharia law, then you're living under Sharia law. So that's why that's our line in the sand. You'll see that in the film. You'll see testimonies and stuff from Lara Logan, Joe Burkett, John Bennett, John Guandolo, General Flynn, Alan West, Tommy Robinson, Alex Jones, Rick Green. You're going to see Americans and you're going to see Muslim folks just showing where their positions are. And what you understand from that after seeing the movie is that Islam is not a religion. Islam is a civilization. It is a political system, an oppressive political system with its own set of rules called Sharia that hasn't changed since 640 AD. And if we do nothing, Texas will become an Islamic state in the not too distant future.
They want an Islamic world. That's what I understand. I believe, and I'm very happy that I am awake here at the America First Warehouse. We will continue to push this narrative. We want you to see what's happening. Islam is a civilization. It's not an American civilization. I love America. I'm not going to let it happen. There are ways we can do it to protect ourselves. John Bennett, he's part of, I'm going to have to read this, Allied Special Intelligence Group 2. That sounds pretty special to me. John's job, and I'm going to help him here in New York, is we're going to organize police officers and veterans and other organizations for John to come in here and train us. John, can you tell us about this training and what you're going to do with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we train folks all over the United States to fight back against this, one of the greatest threats that the United States has gone against for a very, very long time. Right now, we're at war for the very soul of this nation. And until we stand up and fight back, we will lose. And we're currently losing because no one has had the backbone to stand up and fight against it. Both of these, the movement that we're facing today is primarily the Islamic movement, which is a very violent movement. It's a complete way of life, by the way, according to Islam themselves. But we have a movement, an Islamic movement, working with the communists and Marxists here in the United States today, here in New York. You have the perfect example, and that's Mamdani. He's a communist, Marxist jihadi is exactly what he is. That's what we're facing today. And their goal, their coordinated goal, they've been working hand in hand with each other for decades, is to destroy this constitutional republic and replace it with one of those two forms of totalitarian types of government. And both of those movements working together, both of them have doctrine, they've got strategy, and they've got written plans to operationalize that strategy. And that's exactly what they're doing in the playbook that they're using. And they've been doing it with impunity. Nobody is standing up and saying, nope, not today. So our organization, that's what we do. We pick pillars out of society, law enforcement, pastors, churches, citizens, elected officials, and other pillars of society that the other side has been fighting in. They've been fighting on that battlefield, and we've been nowhere to be found. We've engaged in those same battlefields, and they are destroying us from within. So our organization goes to counties and states and train all those different entities on how to legally and lawfully, but very creatively, delay, dismantle, disrupt, and annihilate those enemies, push them out of our communities, fortify them, and then go to the next communities until we've got them completely pushed out and reinstated a constitutional republic form of government at the local level all the way up to the national level.
We push for America First candidates continuously. And I brought many in. I've tried to give them a voice, get it out there. The GOP and the Democratic Party seem to be kind of like working hand in glove with it. So you would come in and you would look for, I guess, the 3%ers type, right? The people that are willing to stand up and fight. Or how do you convince somebody that it's coming and you need this training?
So we come in and just give them the truth. You see, the American people as a whole have been lied to for generations. We've forgotten what our founding principles are. We train them on that, and that which is a natural enemy to what we're facing today. And in addition to that, we give them the truth. This is who the enemy says they are, how they operate and why they operate, and then how that is contradictory to who we are in this God-blessed constitutional republic that we live in today. So what we train anybody and everyone, just like our founders, there was a very small percentage of our founders that were willing to sacrifice everything so we could live in the freest nation in the world. 250 years this year. We look for those same kind of people, those that are willing to stand even when the heat gets turned up, when their lives are threatened, when they've lost their fortunes, that will still stay in the fight and fight for this God-blessed constitutional republic and the freedoms that we enjoy today. Because if we don't stand and fight for freedom today, we won't have any to fight for tomorrow. And that is exactly where we are today.
Will you do hand-to-hand combat training?
We do all kinds of training, but we primarily like to
Educate.
Let me
educate
jump.
and train other areas as well. We can talk about the other stuff
Let me
later,
jump in here for a second. The reason we made this movie is we want peace. We want to win this war, and it is a war. They've declared war on us. We didn't start this, but we want to do it peacefully. Because if you look at 1,400 years of Islamic history, if you look to the UK, you look to Germany, you look to Paris, you look to Nigeria, where my friend's family, I just got a call 2 days ago. My buddy's family member got killed, and they'd already burned his house down. The war is already here. We want to win this thing peacefully. I had my life saved in Africa by a young Muslim ranger named Abdi. I'd go anywhere in the world for that man. I love that man. He's Muslim. So what? But Abdi's not in Texas telling me I got to get rid of the Constitution and put in Sharia law. He's not in Texas telling me it's okay for somebody to rape someone's daughter or someone's wife because she's not covered up. That is Sharia law. That is the line we have to stand against. And you want to talk about a war, and this is what John goes to about how we've been lied to for many years. You've heard of what do they call Marines? Leathernecks. Not just because he's got good posture. It goes back to the first war this country fought. It was a 30-year war. Our first foreign war was against Islam. It was the Barbary pirates. And they called them leathernecks because they'd get their heads cut off from the scimitars, so they made boiled leather armor to give to all the Marines while they were fighting. That's not being taught in our schools. And you look at the letter that's sitting in the Congressional Library right now, when Franklin and Jefferson went to the Sultan and said, "Why are you doing this? We've caused you no grievance." And he said, "We're commanded to. You're kafir. You're non-believers. And this is what we are told to do." That was a very expensive war. And how that's been turned around is not only is that not taught in our schools, but you look at guys like Keith Ellison, or you look at other folks that are in politics now that have taken their oath of office on the Quran. We got to get out of here. And they say it's because they believed in Allah. No, Jefferson had a Quran to know his enemy.
I do understand that, and I do recall studying, as I love American history, and I love, the Bible that we like to read. Nowhere have I ever seen anything in the Bible that it's okay to abuse children the way they do. I believe, and the truth is coming out, that it's such a child trafficking ring, what they're doing, and how many are involved. I'd like to talk a little bit more about that, and also talk about the shadow banding that's going on with us. We'll be right back. I'm back. Joe the Box, Chris, John, great patriots that are not afraid to put it on the line like our founding fathers, and honestly, like me. I feel so strong that Jesus is moving me. And we just had a little off discussion. I want to talk about two things with these gentlemen. One, Chris and his movie and how it's being shadow banded all over the place. And I want to come back to John and explain to us a little bit more about this Muslim religion versus the Islamic civilization. Why don't we start by that? You were talking in the break here, and I felt the same way. I didn't really know where Islam came out of our Bible. I studied the Old Testament. Mostly I spend my time in the Gospels, but I never really saw where that came from or how something so hateful and evil could even come from God.
Yeah, so absolutely can. So the biggest narrative that's out there right now from the Islamic world is they try, especially here in the United States, to use our First Amendment against us. They all say, well, we all serve the same God. This is a religion. It's a complete way of life. It's a complete way of life that uses a deity to advance its violence, is what Islam is. But they say, well, we all serve the same God, so they convince churches, pastors, Christians, others to actually defend Islam for them when they say that. The problem is, or the issue is, those churches and pastors and even Jewish people that are protecting Islam in America, they have no idea what they're talking about. We don't all serve the same God. For instance, let me ask you this: how can Islam be part of one of the great Abrahamic faiths, which would mean we all serve the same God? How could it be the same God that we serve when our God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, says, "These are my chosen people," talking about the Jews? How could it be the same God that in Islam they're commanded to kill all the Jews and all the Christians? It can't be the same God. And they'll tell you in Islam they believe in Jesus, but most Christians don't have enough spiritual discernment to say, well, what version of Jesus do you believe in? Because they do believe in Jesus. But their version, Islamic version of Jesus, is he was a prophet, but he was a lower prophet than Muhammad. But they will tell you Jesus is going to come back. But what they won't tell you, at least the ones I run into, some of them will, they believe Jesus is going to come back, but he's going to come back and he's going to throw all the non-Muslims into hell. Again, how could that be the same God we serve that said, "These are my chosen people," be the same God that sends Jesus back as a Muslim to throw all non-Muslims into hell? It's not the same God. There's so much other proof out there, but yet we don't have the spiritual discernment in America today. We allow them to use our First Amendment against us, and we even help facilitate this violent movement that they're imposing on the United States. And by the way, Islam itself says their stated goal is to impose Allah's divine law on earth, and they do it through a thing called jihad, which is legally defined in Allah's divine law, as they call it, is etymologically derived from the word mujahada, which signifies warfare against all non-Muslims.
And you don't have to take John's word for it. You'll see in the movie, we have a top Muslim scholar in the movie, and he says that exactly. He says that, oh, we believe in Jesus and this, but then you push a little farther. Well, do you believe he was the Son of God? No. Do you believe that he died on the cross? No. We believe that they put somebody on the cross that looked like him. Well, what is his purpose? His purpose is to come back and tell all you Christians that Allah is the true religion. So this whole jihad, it's secular and it's spiritual. Every time when they build a mosque, 3 miles around that, they claim that territory. That's jihad. That's claiming territory. When you have the call to prayer, when they put it on the loudspeakers, as far as you can hear that, they claim that territory. When you're like what's happening now in Dallas, they're really pushing halal food. I have a friend of mine. She calls me up. She's so upset. She orders food, DoorDash comes, whatever, and it's halal meat. Well, I live in Texas. I raised livestock. When we put something down, you put it down clean, fast. You raise that animal up, and then you put it down mercifully. And halal, it doesn't happen that way. They slit the animal's throat. The animal dies painfully. The animal dies shuddering. They go into convulsions, all sorts of things. They're screaming. The animals behind it hear it. And then while they're doing that, you've got a Muslim fella praying and thanking God for this sacrifice. So they are sacrificing that animal to God. So if you're a pet lover, if you're a PETA person, you should be just so upset that you're eating meat that's been tortured. And if you're a believer in Jesus Christ, you should probably be having second thoughts about eating meat that was sacrificed to a foreign god.
It's pretty crazy. I didn't even realize that. I was wondering what halal was. I see it on a big stick and they're cutting it down this way. Look like meat. I didn't realize that, but I would put that near me.
The halal is it has to be spiritually purified according to Islamic law, or they can't eat it.
Don't the Jewish laws have the same thing, similar?
Difference is nobody's pushing kosher food through our neighborhoods. You go to a Jewish deli or you go to HEB, yeah, you can get kosher hot dogs, but you don't have to. What's happening in Texas right now is you're being forced to eat halal, and they're putting in the school systems and they're putting halal food on Christian kids.
So halal is just the way they murder the cow.
Halal means good, haram means bad. So halal means it's good meat. It was
sacrificed,
correct.
sliced.
It's another form of domination as well.
Yeah.
They're literally forcing schools, cities, towns, grocery stores to carry halal only. And if they don't, then they protest, they boycott these stores, and they go after them to force them into it. It's a form of domination because Islam is all about domination.
Yeah.
It's nothing about assimilation.
I don't see any assimilating there. But I do have two concerns. We got about 5.5 minutes left here. One of them would go over to you, John. And that's why is there such hesitation for these pastors to take on this training and understanding?
That's a fantastic question. $1 million question. They won't do it because, one, they don't understand it either spiritually or through knowledge and understanding of what they're really dealing with. And another third option there is, and this is the most likely, there's this thing called the Interfaith Alliance. By the way, it goes back to the Communist Marxist Islamic Alliance together. The communists started this interfaith decades ago. I mean, a long time ago. And it was to subvert the Christian denominations and all the Christian churches from the inside out to push them into communism. They turned it over to the Islamic movement. The Islamic movement, the Muslim Brotherhood, literally wrote a book, a manual, on how to use Christians, Jews, and other faiths to stand in between those of us telling the truth about Islam and Islam. They're the ones that attack you instead of Islam doing it. So if you say any truth about Islam, they use them to attack you. And that interfaith is them saying, oh, we all serve the same God. We're all together as one. We need to come together. But the problem is, in Islam, they literally state, we don't go to them. It's a one-way bridge. They come to us. They use
Submission.
all other faiths. Exactly. They use all other faiths and all other means through jihad. That's a form of jihad to force conversion or get other people to convert over to Islam. They never come over to the other side. And it's called the Interfaith Alliance, and it's the tip of the spear today because the churches and the pastors who are supposed to be the real true leaders of the communities, they're failing by not having enough spiritual discernment to say, here's truth, and here's our job as Christians and what our entire nation was built upon, the laws of nature and nature's God, which was legally defined at our founding, by the way, as God's word and God's will according to Holy Scripture and the Holy Spirit. We are a Christian nation.
Yes.
So they use them, they handicap them so they can continue this movement of Islam to push it on the world.
Our country is being killed by empathetic suicide. We are doing this to ourselves. And part of it is, and especially with the clergy, it's fear. What does it say 365 times in the Bible?
What does it say?
It says, fear not, 365 times.
Okay.
Repeat it over and over. That's what we're dealing with. Fear of offending somebody. Fear of losing our 501c3 status, that we're no longer a tax-exempt church. That's what's happening right now in the United States of America. There's a wonderful man in the film. His name's Pastor Troy Brewer, another Texan. And he has saved, in his ministry, 12,000 women and children in America and throughout Central America and Africa from sex trafficking. And then he not only saves them, but he creates homes and ranches where folks can live, go to school, and build a new family. He has never seen in any Islamic state where kids aren't being trafficked and it's legal. There's still slave markets in Africa that he's been to where he's bought children and brought them to freedom, where Islamic slave markets are selling Christian children. That is going in the United States right now. Not just all the Nigerians that we massacred, tens of thousands. It's selling with children. Now, here's where that comes home that's so scary. Everybody knows Washington, D.C. is corrupt. If you've worked on the Hill at all like John and I have, it's compromise and it's bribes. Pastor Brewer says in the movie that the second largest lobbyist organization on the Hill is the porn industry. And according to him, the majority of the money in that porn lobbying industry is Islamic money because they want to mainstream pedophilia and they want to be able to keep trafficking people and making money off of that. That is our own government system being used against us.
The government's being used against us in this fashion and many other ways. It's almost hard to accept, and I think that's what's happening here. I think that the awakening of the people of the citizenship starts right here with the voting and the way they're lying. It's being exposed. These cities that where they're praying in the street. To me, I don't.
That's
get
jihad.
It.
That is, you don't see that in Pakistan. You don't see it in Qatar. You don't see it in the UAE. When you see military-age men shutting down a boulevard, whether it's Manhattan, Dallas, Houston, or Dearborn, that is jihad. What they're saying is, we claim this territory. There's plenty of room to pray in the mosque. Those images go out to the rest of the Islamic world. That's why in the Islamic world, Dallas, Texas is now being branded as the Mecca of the West, because they think America's for sale, and it starts in Texas.
And I got to tell you, both John and Chris, when I look through the internet and I watch what's happening, I hear these people talking because it's getting out there. But I know that we can't give up with this. The movie tonight, if you're watching it, if you see it, come to the warehouse tonight. You're going to be educated beyond belief because I sat through it in Dallas and I can't wait to see it again. There's a lot of questions I have. Come tonight. These gentlemen will answer every question you have. It's me, Joe the Box, back here at the America First Warehouse, the most patriotic venue in all the land. Hey, I drove in with my iron horse a little bit earlier, but I do have a beautiful horse saddle from my friend Chris that he can maybe ride in on. We just have to, hey, Johnny, maybe you'll be the horse, you know? You can carry him around.
He won't be riding 8 seconds, that's for sure.
Bull riding for 8 seconds. Anyway, we're back here at the America First Warehouse. I have this last segment together with these fantastic, incredible men of Jesus moving their passion to save this country just as I am. I never served in the forces. My father did. I have a lot of members in the family that did. I kind of wish that I would have. I wanted to, but it was 1980. Ronald Reagan was president. Peace was throughout the land. It wasn't something that we had to do. And living with my dad, the Marine, you know, once one's in trouble, we're all in trouble. Sit up straight, eat everything on your plate. You know how that is. But I'm back here today with these gentlemen just to get a couple more minutes and explain to you the struggles that we're having here at the warehouse. We can't seem to get out of the mud. We're shadow banded in on everything that we do. They don't like us on Facebook. They don't like us on Instagram, on Truth. My friend got kicked off the TikTok after a couple of 100,000 people. I mean, I don't get what's going on, but I'm going to build the America First Media and Television. It's an app and it's a website, and they can never shut that down. We want to eventually show that movie on the platform. We're going to work out those details. There's a few other big distribution companies that I'm familiar with that carries good Christian-based films and are looking for things like this film for their network. Chris, you had told me, you sent me a cartoon. I enjoyed it so much. It was a little beautiful little Texas girl. She jumps off the horse and she saves somebody from being thrown over the roof. And she's just the American way. And she's bringing it away, explaining to everybody how simple this is and what is happening. But I do know this, Chris. They're not letting you out with that. That cartoon is so cool. It should be on every Sunday morning.
Thank you, sir, for saying that. Well, that comes down to the red-green axis that we're talking about, where you have Marxists lined up with Islamists controlling this. And it's very frightening. In my career making viral videos, I've got over 1/3 billion views. We put that cartoon out. I think between everybody on the team, we have less than 2,000 views. And that comes down to, and it's right out of the Marxist playbook. In the old days in Russia, they put you in a gulag. They kill you. They put you in prison. Here, all they have to do is just shadow ban you. If your stuff doesn't get out, it doesn't get there. I could put a picture of my cat on my Facebook not too long ago. I get a couple thousand views. I have 2 views on my Facebook right now of that cartoon.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
I loved
You were
it.
one of them. But
I was the other one.
This, and we address this in the movie. Remember the Alamo, Don't Sharia My Texas. The disconnect between reading the actual books, the Hadiths, the Quran, the Surah, and what's on the internet it's completely way sided to get people to be pro-Islam. And I'll just give you one example.
Yeah, it's true.
In the Surah, as Muhammad lays dying, and there's back and forth discussion as to how much is due to the fact he had been poisoned by a Jewish woman because she wanted to see if he was really a prophet, and she thought if he was really a prophet, God would stop him from eating the poisoned lamb shoulder, but he ate it anyway. Anyway, as he's laying dying on the lap of his favorite wife, Aisha, who's now 19 by this time, he says two things. He says to make sure that Islam is the only religion in Arabia, and he tells his staff to keep paying the bribes to the ambassadors of the Jews and the Christians. All right, that's written. That's in his Surah. That's his biography. But if you Google it and you put in, what were Muhammad's last words, it's something to paraphrase, well, he wanted the world to know that women are equal and we should all make friends with the Christians and the Jews. So if I'm wanting to find out about Islam, and if I don't have these documents in front of me, I'm going to go Google it, and you're going to go, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. He wanted peace for everybody. That is an information war. That is fifth-generation war. Knowledge is power, and right now we are living in the greatest information war this country's ever been a part of.
Fifth-generational warfare written by General Flynn. Now, John, shadow banded for Chris over there. You're trying to get a word out. You're trying to train. How are you reaching these people to organize so we can help you? Because I'd love you to come back. I have a couple of, we have 2-3 gun ranges that people practice on. One of them you have to be special permitted in order to get in. That's the one we got in with Bobby, Rob Moore's, and fired away. So how do we help you organize that? And what lists should I get? Or because I really want my people to start calling, and I want to set up a date, maybe as early as October, September, for you to come in. I can give you a room of 100 people.
Yeah, we'd love to. So basically right now, because we too have been shadow banned, kicked off the internet. I mean, it's been unbelievable. We have a website up right now. It's a clean, very simple website because we vet everybody that requests training for obvious reasons. It's a big security issue. We've had our lives threatened. Our families' lives have been threatened. So we're very careful, and we vet anybody and everyone that requests training. So they can go to our website at www.asig2.com, and they can request training from there, and then we will vet them to make sure, they're not
right. Well,
I would be, and then we'll call them.
I would have everybody come to whatever site we set up, and you would get that information so you could do that vetting process. I'm assuming maybe it's a little bit better than the Graham Plattner process of that they vetted that guy up in Maine, right?
Yeah, definitely, no doubt about that. But yeah, I mean, we could do that as well. You just give us a list, we'll vet them, let you know if we got anyone trying to sneak in, and then we'll come and train your community.
No, I believe that there's going to be a very strong interest in that, especially after we start sharing this movie. Now, the movie itself, how do we get that movie, or how other people get that movie, Chris?
Just go to rememberthealamomovie.com. Rememberthealamomovie.com.
Remember the Alamo is a couple of different movies were done with the Alamo. Now, you feel that this is the last fight, like the Alamo standing?
So, we named the movie Remember the Alamo for two reasons. When the training came to Texas, and I'd been part of the training and seen it all over the country in the last 20 years, I've never seen any community stand up in defiance, come together as quick as they did just in the first hour of the presentation. And so Northeast Texas isn't Dallas-Fort Worth. Dallas-Fort Worth, they've built 24 mosques in 24 months. Now they're spreading out into East Texas. Well, where I live, the most political question somebody will ask you is, what church do you go to? Not do you go to church, but what church do you go to? So now they're wanting to put a bunch of Islamic centers out by us, and we don't have that population. We've got some great Muslim folks that have lived out with us for over 40 years, and Malik told me, he's like, Chris, I don't know why they're here. He says, why are they going to build a 9.5-acre facility? If we had 80 families, maybe I could see. I'm like, well, Malik, how many do we have? He goes, in 2 counties, maybe 6. You know, so it's all that you build it and they will come. Well, this is different. This is East Texas. So remember the Alamo comes from remember who we are. You know, our ancestors, and one of mine in particular, died at the Alamo defending a church, not a mosque, okay? 13 days they were under siege. In 90 minutes, they were all killed, every single one of them. Colonel Travis drew a line in the sand and said, look, if you want to leave, you know, you can leave. If not, if you're with me, step across this line and stay with me. Everybody except one person stayed, okay? What that 13 days and 90 minutes did was it allowed General Houston to gather and train an army so that 46 days later, he took on Santa Ana at the Battle of San Jacinto, and with an inferior numbers force, beat them, decimated them in 18 minutes. That's where we are now. We've lost the battle. The Islamic world thinks they already own Texas because they own our, according to them, they own our politicians. But Texas has not yet awoken. When Texas awakes, when they understand what's going on, Texans come together, and we will San Jacinto the hell out of Sharia. We're going to save Texas, and then Texas is going to be that city on the hill that sets the example, what every other state in the Union does. There are 57 Islamic countries in the Organization of Islamic States. There's only one Christian country that's still standing, and that's us.
Right. And I really want that to happen. One of the things that that kind of comes to my mind all the time when I see the Muslim women is, don't they feel like suppressed? Don't they feel like, do I got to keep this on my face? Why can't I talk? Why can't I eat? Why can't I live a life normal? I mean, I don't get it. Or is that part of the submissive?
I mean, that's a very prophetic statement that you made. They do. They have been brought up in that and forced on them. And some of them will even say, well, I choose to do this because I want to. They don't. They're all oppressed, suppressed, and it's all done by the Muslim men, because in Islam, women are only worth half a man, and their property considered property. So women especially need to be pushing back on this. Non-Muslim women need to push back on this. But, you know, if women understood that, they certainly would. And this is the most detrimental thing. Islam is the most detrimental thing to women since the beginning of time. It strips away all their rights, all they are as human beings, and makes them nothing.
That's why it surprises me so much when I see this movement going on. Where is the feminist movement? Why aren't they up in arms about it?
Because of the Red Green Alliance, the Marxist movement. It's not about equal rights for women. Otherwise, you would have now and everybody else standing up and saying this should never be allowed in the country. It's not what it's about. It's about an information war, take down the United States from the inside. You have the Marxists pairing up with Islamists, and as we saw in Iran, that's what they did in 1979, and you'll see folks in the movie from Iran. The first thing they did after that was over, they took away their dogs, and they killed all the leftists. So all those people that were up there screaming, yeah, go, Khomeini, they're dead now.
And if we as Americans don't stand on who we are as a nation and stop Sharia from being implemented here, those women and even men that don't want to be in Islam, they're captive to Islam. They can't leave. It's punishable by death. They can't leave, so we have to stand up and tell them, no, you're not doing that here, and help them get out of that captivity. Otherwise, there's nowhere else for them to go. There's no other free nation on the planet.
I got to tell you, I can't imagine me trying to tell my wife to be quiet and sit down and blah, blah. It wouldn't happen. I love my strong women here in the United States. One more time, where do we find you, John, and where do we find you, Chris? Johnny?
www.asig2.com.
Chris?
RememberTheAlamoMovie.com.
Watch it tonight at the Warehouse.
Oh, it's, you know, I got to tell you, it's so good to be back, and you know, as I'm learning, as much as I think I know, I'm learning along the way from the both of you, as you continue this fight in well, it's in Oklahoma, and when it's Texas, and whether I'm there with Zohran Mamdani in New York City, that is single-handedly trying to take down New York. One of the things that I'm so excited about is that number one, to be here at the America First Warehouse. If you are in the Northeast, whether you're Long Island, New York, New Jersey, please go to our website. It puts out everything that we're doing. At the AmericaFirstWarehouse.com, you will see the playbook of all the events that we have. And tonight we are going to be showing this movie. It's a premiere here. It's called Do Not or Don't Sharia Law My Texas. And I can't wait for the full explanation of this, because it sounds like to me this is like, you know, and this behind the scenes you were showing me this cartoon which was so cutesy, but at the same time the messages that you showed me, and I can't wait to share this with my followers.
Yeah, the cartoon it's a little Disney type commercial. The heroine is a 9-year-old little cowgirl, and the whole movie's we're not against Muslims. We don't want to hurt anybody. I had my life saved in Kenya 20-some years ago by a young Muslim ranger, Abdi. I go anywhere in the world for him. Abdi's not in Texas trying to get rid of the Constitution. Abdi is not in Texas trying to tell my daughter she has to wear a hijab or a burqa. What you see in that cartoon is who we want to go home is the people that push gay guys off of roofs, people that stone women for whatever reason they want, whether it's feigned adultery or just disobedience. We want people to go home that want to wreck the Constitution. It's really simple. We shouldn't even be having this discussion. The Constitution is the law of the land for America. It's what makes us who we are. It defines us. At the Alamo, 189 guys died defending a church, not a mosque, okay? To put in Sharia. Sharia is a set of laws that come from 640 AD. They haven't changed. It is the enemy of the Constitution. Therefore, any cop, any military person, any politician that's ever taken an oath to defend the Constitution, if you're not doing that, if your efforts are supporting Sharia law and the spread of Sharia law, which is happening all over the country, especially in Texas, you're in violation of that oath. That's terms for doing immediate termination from office, never be able to run again, and possibly criminal activity, criminal penalty. That's what's going on.
So the movie that we're going to see tonight, is it more of a documentary, or is it more of a, like going into like a theater and seeing an actual movie?
It's like going to theater and seeing an actual movie, which is a documentary, but you won't see it in theaters because they're all afraid. Regal Theater, Cinemark, they won't have us in there. The movie stars some great folks: General Flynn, Lara Logan, Joe Burkett, this Marine sitting on the other side of me, Colonel Pete Chambers. The movie, it'll knock your socks off, but it's also got some comedy stuff in it because we have a comedy skit in it. And the true story behind the comedy skit is the day before we went to film, the lead actor quit because his family was afraid he was going to get killed for making fun of Islam. How does that happen in the United States of America, that someone's afraid to be funny because they'll get killed by a religion? What is Islam? When we explore it, Islam is not a religion. Islam is a civilization with its own set of laws, which is Sharia.
Social political system. Yeah, it's very violent social political system.
So, in either one can answer this question. In your opinion, today where we're at, are more Americans waking up to what this is and saying, "Oh my God, thank God we finally waking up"? Or is it too late? Are people not waking up? Are we winning? Are we losing right now? In either one of your opinions,
we're absolutely losing. But the reason we're losing is because, and John, correct me if you think different, is because people are not awake. The reason we made this movie Texas-centric isn't just because our ranch is in Texas. It's because Texans, no offense to New Yorkers or Dearborners or Minnesotans, Texans, when they find out what's going on, they're like, hell no. They stand up. Where I live, the most political question you can say is, what church do you go to? Not do you go to church, but what church do you go to? They may have built 24 mosques in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in 24 months, but that's not going to happen in East Texas. So Texas is going to come together, going to stand. And the reason this is the name of the movie is Remember the Alamo, Don't Sharia My Texas. 13 days, and then in 90 minutes, everybody at the Alamo was killed. But that gave General Houston enough time to rally the Army, train the Army, that they defeated Santa Ana in 18 minutes. So, yeah, the Islamic world thinks they own Texas right now. They truly believe that. That's the Alamo. They haven't seen San Jacinto.
Has the country forgot? We will never forget what happened in 9/11. Have they forgot?
I think a lot have. A generation has passed, and a lot of folks aren't even paying attention anymore. A lot of kids don't even know what 9/11 was, because the other side, the Islamic movement, coupled with the communist Marxist movement, have literally tried to rewrite and for the most part have controlled the narrative on making people forget about 9/11 or they'll capture the narrative and say, well, we Muslims, we don't believe in what happened, but in reality they do. Otherwise, they would not be following Islam, because Islam commanded those jihadis to do what they did on 9/11 when they murdered thousands of Americans. And I agree with Chris. We're on the losing side. We're at the edge of the cliff right now, about to be pushed over. It's time to dig our heels in and say, nope, not today. We're going to stand and fight for this God-blessed constitutional republic with everything that means. We will not go down, because if we go down here, there's nowhere else to go.
You have 5 children, correct?
I do.
Boys, girls?
3 boys, 2 girls.
3 boys, 2 girls.
I'm sorry, 3 girls, 2 boys.
3 girls,
Tell
2
them I
boys.
said
It's okay. I'm dyslexic too. Thank God I got 1 and 1. You have children?
I do.
Yeah. Boys,
That's why
girls?
we're doing this.
Boys, girls?
We're doing this.
What
I
do you
don't want
got?
to see my grandkids wearing hijabs,
Yeah.
okay? I don't want to
That's right.
see... You have to understand, when you understand who Muhammad is, you understand what the religion is. The reason our buddy, Tommy Robinson, in the UK, they blew up his car 3 times, tried to break down and burn his mom's house to the ground. His cousin Hannah gets raped by a room full of Muslim men. Nobody gets arrested. Why is that? Because the cops are afraid they'd be labeled racists. And then later on, they don't get arrested because now you've got enough Islamic folks into government that follow Sharia law. That's not a crime. She deserved to be raped because she wasn't covered up. That's Sharia law. That don't play in Texas.
You know, one of the things that, I'm going to give you, let everybody know out there, that without our government, we are not the United Kingdom, we are not Scotland, we're not Ireland. As a matter of fact, without our government, we, the people, are the 5th largest army in the world. We are considered the 5th largest army. It's not if, it is when this sleeping giant wakes up. I believe in my patriots of the United States of America. I can tell you with my millions of followers that the conversation, the communication that is coming in is militias are being formed everywhere, and they are ready to go, and they are waiting for the direction of the President of the United States of America, including me. I will say directly to the President of the United States that you tell me where and you tell me when, and the Midnight will be showing up with every other patriot that loves this country. I want to know, are you guys mad? Are you angry? Are you pissed off that we let this go this far?
So, Midnight, we want to be real clear. I made this movie so we don't get to there, because I live in Texas. You're not going to see a rape gang happen in a small town in East Texas. The sheriff won't get there fast enough, okay? This movie, and why we have to do this, is because that is where we're headed. That is the violence. And it's not your word you have to take for it. It's not mine or John's. It's 1,400 years of history. They don't coexist. And it gets to a certain level, it goes to violence.
I wear this shirt. I don't know if you know, I designed this shirt, and I always say, if you are an illegal immigrant that you are here in the United States of America, it's time for you to go. GTFO, which means get the fuck out. If you have not assimilated here, you can get the fuck out. And if you are here and you don't love this country and you happen to be a citizen, there's 193 other countries that'll be more than happy to take you in. We love this country. I love having you guys here. I got to tell you, I want to scream from the tops of mountains. I would hope that we can follow your direction and do this peacefully through your vision, through your movie, through your experience. I hope and pray that we are not at the point where we have to take action in our own hands. I don't think this enemy is going anywhere. They are screaming. Rashid Tlaib says, we are here to stay. We are in every corner in the United States of America. This is our country, and we're here to stay, and we're not going anywhere. So you tell me, how do we peacefully do this when they are so entrenched in here and they're getting political positions that we have allowed this to happen?
First steps. John, you want to go first?
So I agree with your feelings on it, and I know, and I've seen it in other countries.
John, I'm going to interrupt you here. You have to understand, we've seen violence. We don't want that on our families and friends, okay? But if you push us too far, we'll be your best friend or your worst enemy.
So then that's the message. We are peaceful. We're not asking for any violence. We don't want to see anybody hurt. These 2 men are compassionate. They love their Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. They don't want anybody on their watch being hurt, tortured, beat, abused, put down, stoned, rocked, acid in eyes, drowned, burned, thrown in ditches, as I've seen many, many of these videos coming out from Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, the IRGC, what they do to their people. Our first mission is we are going to do everything to get out of this peacefully. And through the knowledge and the love and the compassion of these two men that are on the stage, and I'm sure with the heart and soul that you put into this film, that is what your message is, not only to the United States of America, but this is not only America's fight, this is the world against this ideology. This is the only God that I know that exists that tells their people that if they do not convert to what we are in Islam, that we are considered infidels and we have no right here to be in the United States of America. We've got about 30 seconds left. You guys want to tell everybody else where they can find you and whatever last thing you want to promote.
Yeah, absolutely. So take action. You got to do it today. You got to do it locally. Go to www.asig2.com and sign up for some of our training. And we'll train you how to legally, lawfully, but very creatively delay, disrupt, dismantle, and annihilate this enemy and form a Republican, a constitutional Republican form of government, again at the local level, and fortify it so the enemy never comes back.
Remember the Alamo movie. Remember the AlamoMovie.com. Remember the AlamoMovie.com.
You've been live here with the Midnight with my patriots, my soldiers. We are out. Woo! All right, we're gonna start this. We're gonna start this Q&A, and this is something a little different for me because we're not gonna work on clips, and we're not gonna work on things on the air. But I am so grateful and so proud to have the both of you here. And I'll tell you, selfishly speaking, it reminds me that I'm not alone in this fight. For the last month, I've been in Delaney Hall. I've been fighting Antifa. I've been in Washington Park fighting with the NYPD. Why are they protecting the terrorists that are in this country? For everybody out here, this is probably going to be one of the most important things. If you are a patriot of the United States of America and you love this country as much as I do, these men are in a fight, standing with guys like me and all the other millions of patriots that are out there to do everything they can not to let our country get hijacked on our watch. And to my left is John, and then we got Chris to the right. And the first thing, I want, because nobody knows who you are at this point, and I think it's, John, we can start with you. And why don't you let everybody know who you are, what's your background, and how did you get into this? Because we weren't here yesterday, but we're here today. Yesterday, I was having the greatest time of my life. The next thing I know, I'm hunting down jihad Muslim terrorists. I don't know how this happened and how I became this person. But John, why don't you tell us first where you started, your background, and how you got to this on the stage from right here.
So really, it started right after 9/11. I was already in the Marine Corps, and after we were attacked on 9/11, we were sent to Afghanistan and Iraq. And my job in the Marine Corps is counterintelligence, human intelligence. So we were in the villages with with Muslims in these countries, and what we were taught before we went in there was almost the exact opposite of what they were telling us in regards to why they do what they do, what social political system they live under, and what they truly thought of us. So when I started sending information up the chain saying, hey, something's not right here, we need to know who our enemy is, because that's basic U.S. warfighting doctrine. You can't defeat the enemy until you know who they say they are, how they operate, and why they operate. We need to reassess this and figure this out, or we're going to lose people.
I'm a little confused. You're saying that your direct superiors are telling you one thing, but the people that are physically living in the countries that we are there combating against are telling you another? So what is your superiors telling you, and then what is the truth?
So, and basically the superiors, the chain of command, say, just shut up and do your job. Well, my reaction was, well, I am doing my job. It's called counterintelligence, counterterrorism. We can't defeat them until we know who they say they are, how they operate, why they operate. basic U.S. warfighting doctrine. Like, just shut up, don't make them mad. We need them to help us take out these other individuals. And I'm like, well, they're saying something totally different than what we were taught, and we need to figure this out. And they're like, no, just go do your job. So literally, the Muslims that we were put in the villages with were telling us something totally different. So I'm taking all this stuff in. Our own government was saying, no, we're going to win their hearts and minds. Just do whatever. Don't show them your feet. Don't do this. Don't do that. Ridiculous things. So when I got done with that, I got off active duty out of the Marine Corps, did 13 years on active duty in the Marine Corps, did 8 years in the Marine Corps Reserves. When I got off active duty, my first job was with the Sheriff's Department and then the Drug Task Force. And while I was there, I had already started learning more about the true Islam and what Sharia is and who our enemy is, and trying to warn everyone still, even then, we got to do something now before they come here. We fought them over there to keep them from coming here. And it was pretty much the same thing. Deer in the headlight looks. We don't know what you're talking about. So I went over to the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force, and they said, well, our primary goal is worrying about white supremacists. I'm like, okay, fine, but this is the Joint Terrorism Task Force. What about the jihadis and the terrorists that are here already? And I already had a list of them that were there. They're like, no, don't worry about that. This is a bigger issue. You got to worry about this. Deer in the headlight looks. So I'm like, okay. So I decided I need to do something. So I ran for elected office to be the state representative. And I won, and I used that platform to tell the whole world and everyone in my state, here's the problem. We're facing this. We got to do something about it. My own Republican colleagues, by the way, so-called conservatives, attacked me in addition to everybody else. So they attacked me, and I fought with Hamas, doing business as the Council of American Islamic Relations for years. In the legislature, I got out of the legislature, and then I became the chairman of the Oklahoma Republican Party, and I used that platform as well to say the same things, and got pummeled and beat up even more there. And then within that time frame, I was working with some other colleagues, specifically on the communist, Marxist, and Islamic threat as well. So I started working with them full time, which brings us to here today.
Well, first of all, I want to make, and I never ever want this to sound cliche. Thank you so much for your service. Okay, and I implore everybody out there that when you thank a member, who fought and put his life on the line for this country, you don't just say it and repeat it like a parrot. You say it with your heart and your soul, because the reason why we live free today is because of men like this. So, but with that said, my question before I get to Chris is, you go overseas, you see things that probably are unimaginable. You know the threat that is happening over there to the women and the children that are there. It's not necessarily here yet, but you come home, you are now putting yourself into these political powers, the political positions, and everything that you fought for to keep them over there is now, let's fast forward this now to 2026. It is the number one threat, according to the President of the United States of America, the number one fight and the number one threat this country has ever seen in its life, before World War I, World War II, before the World Trade Center, Vietnam War, Korean War, you name it. Pearl Harbor is the invasion and takeover of the very same ideology that you fought thousands and thousands of miles away. And how does that personally make you feel right now, where we are as a country?
I'm sickened by it, but infuriated, but it's a righteous anger. There's no doubt I and others were brought together, remnants been brought together to fight back against this evil cabal that we're fighting today, because we are literally at war for the very soul of this nation. And the enemy that we're fighting is an evil cabal of a communist, Marxist, and an Islamic movement together that are seamlessly tied at the hip from the ground level to the international level. Even though they're ideologically opposed in almost all their beliefs, they're working together, one common goal, and that's to destroy the republic and replace it with one of those two forms of totalitarian types of government, communism and Marxism, or Sharia law. Now, this enemy that we face, both of them, both the movements working together, they both have doctrine, they both got strategy, and they both have written plans to execute that strategy, and they've been doing it with impunity for decades right here in the United States of America. And we're seeing the intentional outcome of that today through people like Mamdani. He's a communist and a jihadi. We've got people in the U.S. Congress that are communists and jihadis. They're in our police departments, their sheriff's departments, they're in our federal law enforcement. They're everywhere. They have insinuated themselves within the system, and they're literally killing us from the inside out.
Midnight, we've known since the mid-1980s the Muslim Brotherhood's stated mission on how they're going to take down the United States from the inside. They laid it out. They executed it. The only difference is the United States government, federal, state, local, has done nothing to stop it. So these guys have declared war on it. We've known about it for decades, and now you're seeing why we're getting so much closer to the UK.
Well, Chris, I want you first of all tell what is your mission? What are you doing? Explain. And again, I get this feeling over my body to have you guys to my left and right is like because I've been waiting for this for a very, very long time. The president has been waiting for this for a very long time. We recognize that communism is the biggest threat in the United States of America, and it looks like our own president of the United States is pretty much just waged war against communism, as Zoran Mamdani is not only the #1 threat to New York, but the #1 threat to the United States of America. But please tell everybody, what's your mission? Who are you? What are you doing?
Well, my mission is to defeat Sharia in Texas and then the United States. And I know we can win this because Muslim Brotherhood and CARE, about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, came and tried to put Sharia law in my daughter's school in the district, bullied the school superintendent into it. And what they used as a pretext was there was a history lesson where you had to draw Muhammad along with other prophets of the Bible and the Quran and Israel, the Jewish faith. And what happened was the school superintendent got bullied, threatened to be sued. He backed down. Then we found out about it, and because I've been working with a task force for about 19 years, after being on the border, running the jihadis on the border in West Texas, I got introduced to his partner, John Guandolo, task force out of Department of Defense against the Muslim Brotherhood. We knew tactically how to peacefully beat the Muslim Brotherhood and beat the Council on American-Islamic Relations, which they say they're not connected, but you talk to anybody in the intelligence services, CARE is the mouthpiece, the press arm of Muslim Brotherhood. So we brought the churches together, brought the town council together, went to the school board meeting. When the school board was presented with what the Muslim Brotherhood's mission was to take down the United States, what Sharia law is, how CARE is their press department, and what they had just done to our kids, and how our kids could no longer draw Jesus Christ on a postcard at Christmas, 5-1, the liberals and the conservatives came together and knocked that crap out of our school district. And they came back and they said, well, we're going to sue you. We may have been a small town, but a small town of cowboys and veterans and law enforcement folks. And when we said, bring it, and they backed down because they're bullies. They'll be a bully, and then they play the victim. That format that we use to defeat Sharia in that little school district is what we're now applying in Texas. July 4th this year, Texas goes on offense. We're going to use that. We're going to win. We're going to knock Sharia law the heck out of Texas, and then we're going to lead the rest of the country into freedom too.
When we come back, I can't wait. We're going to start off with this incredible movie that we're going to see tonight, and they're going to explain to it. Do not Sharia law, my Texas. You stream live with the Midnight. Woo! All right, it's #1. We'll start off with the movie.